Hello there, my YouTube friends and fans. Welcome back to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I love to do no hot videos for the Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed Odyssey because I literally hate the hot. I know that there's certain things in the HUD that you need because the game just doesn't function without it. But I basically turned everything off, but you know, like the health meter of the enemy, so at least I know how many hits it takes to take them down. I also want to know how much ammo I have left, and also how my health is. I could turn that all off, and I probably will try that in the future because I'm still trying to kind of just explore the world and all that, but eventually I'll get bored with the same old, and I will definitely do like a zero hot. I will not even know what my health is like. So with that said, this game is a lot different, that you actually don't really have to necessarily turn off the hot. What I really didn't like, and you may have seen that in the very first video I made about this game, is that in one of the skills that you get in the skill tree really early is that every enemy is glowing red through the walls and everything, which to me is like, really? It feels like cheating. It feels like, you know, one of those hacks that people use in FPS games to kind of like just know where everyone is. And it's like, what's the point of this? If you know where everyone is through the walls, not only does that take away a lot of the realism that this game portrays so well, but also it just, you don't feel like, if you see the enemy but they don't see you, it's just an unfair match. And do you really feel like a stud if you completed like a fort like this, but you actually knew all along where everyone was? I mean, to me that just feels so cheap and so cheesy and so boring and so unsatisfying that I was like, no, I don't want that. And for when I was actually getting this skill, I did not want this skill. I just kind of like just start, you know, using all my points in the skill tree, and it just unlocks stuff as it happens, and it's not all stuff that I actually want or need or I'm gonna use. It's just in the order that you unlock the skill tree, and I basically just kind of click everything there is. I don't really care. I don't do it in a certain order. I just unlock it until everything is unlocked. But thankfully, Ubisoft made it that you can actually turn the highlights or the enemy highlighting the enemies or whatever it's called, I forgot. You can actually turn that off. If you feel like me, where it's like, what is this stupid? I mean, before in recent games, the enemies were highlighted kind of like in white, but now they're like glowing red, like they're on fire. It not only does that look ugly, but it's just like, it takes away all of the immersive feeling that you may get from this game. And immersion is what I love so much about Ubisoft games. You literally feel like you're there. Oh my god, I'm like in this ancient town. I'm sneaking up on people. And let me tell you, it's so cool when you play this way, because I literally sometimes step into a room without knowing that there's an enemy in there, because the enemy is kind of like standing in a dark corner or something, and we just kind of surprise ourselves. Like the enemy is surprised, I'm surprised, I'm like, oh shoot, there's an enemy. So I quickly tap RB to take him down, and that doesn't always work. So as the enemy sees you first, obviously you gotta have to fight him, and it means you have to give away your position. And that's okay, sometimes that works if all the other ones haven't noticed anything or haven't heard the noise, and you can take down the enemy and still continue your, you know, stealth run. And sometimes you just kind of have to, what I do in order not to blow all of my stealth, I usually just leave the area, save real quick, and then come back, and then the enemy basically have lost track of me, and I can continue my stealth run. So it's not lost if you actually do get discovered. But I absolutely love this castle. I didn't plan to come here. I was just on one of my adventure runs, just kind of like exploring the world. I was like, oh wow, look how pretty it is. There are foxes and deers and a beautiful forest and the sun is setting. And then all of a sudden you run into this location and you're like, whoa, what's that? Oh God, it's a huge castle. Should I go in there or not? So if the rank of the castle is kind of like close to what you are, why not? You know, go ahead and try it out. The thing is that a lot of times you actually will run into this castle again, because a lot of times the upcoming missions actually include one of the locations that you already took everything or completed or raided by yourself. But that doesn't matter, because you don't have to go and do all the looting again. You just do the mission and you're done with it. You know what I mean? It's like, the unfortunate thing is that the enemy respawn. Cool would be if Ubisoft would have done it so that if you've already raided a location by yourself and then you come with your crew, there actually wouldn't be any fighting. That would be really, really cool. It'd be a little bit more realistic, but I guess the way they scripted the missions is like you just have to do fighting. But what you can definitely do with the raiding, if you're like me and you don't really like this like group raiding, you like more the solo, you know, the usual how Assassin's Creed is supposed to work. You're the solo assassin going in all stealthy and just literally take out everyone and loot everything by yourself. You can still do that even with the raids. Just go there by yourself, loot everything, take everyone out, and then call your team to help with the opening the doors. I do that like all the time. It's so much more fun. You have the freedom to do that. You do not have to raid a castle or a fort or whatever it is, a fortification with your team. You don't need them for actually just getting rid of them. You don't need your team. You can do it by yourself, and sometimes it's actually a lot less messy and a lot faster, because you just sneak out, take them out, and there's no fighting involved. Because to me, the fighting is like, it can be fun, yes, sometimes I do like it too, but to me the more satisfying way is literally just going in and literally getting rid of everyone without them even knowing that you're there. And it's so funny. It's like they like literally walk by you and you're sitting in a bush, you take him out, the guy next to him has no clue what just happened. And sometimes it's a bit unrealistic, because you would think that the guy that was really close heard the noise and would be alerted by it, and they're not. So that's something that I think Ubisoft probably should work on if they want to make this a little bit more realistic, especially for players like us who are playing more like in hardcore mode. But I don't want to complain here, because I feel like Ubisoft has really done an amazing job. They're trying to improve this game every year, and they're always actually do make things better. The one thing I've mentioned in my first video is that I still really don't like is the night mode, which just looks like bad graphics on a day. It looks unrealistic, and I just literally don't like, you know, when all my graphics go gray and gloomish, but in a gloomy way that those look like day and not night. It's just not, those look weird to me. Things look a little bit better for me now, because my projector lamp was kind of like on its last leg, so the brightness of my projector lamp was not that great anymore. So everything was a little bit darker than for someone who maybe played on a TV or on a PC. But now I have a brand new projector lamp in with at least 3,000 hours of life, and everything has gotten really bright and really gorgeous. But the nights, still, to me, it's like now the nights are even lighter. And it's just like, okay, the night looks lighter, which means it even more looks just like a nasty, gloomy day. And what I do a lot, I just kind of like skip to the day because I just can't stand the night. Sometimes I just do it because it's like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. But it always feels to me like the nights are longer than the days. They just feel like it takes forever for them to go by, and the days are so short in this game. I don't know why. It's probably because we enjoy ourselves more during the day, enjoying the beautiful graphics, and the time just seems to go by faster. I'm sure the days are not faster than the nights. I'm sure they equally divided it 50-50, but I don't know. I mean, let me know what you think about this, but it's still something that bothers me a lot, and I know I'm not alone. I actually Googled this, and there's a lot of people who feel like me. They are just like, why can't you, if you have to do day and night, why don't you just make an actual night? Make it so dark that it feels like you can only see something if you have a lantern, and otherwise you just can't see anything. Just like, you know, when you go out in your neighborhood or something, go walk in the woods at night, you can't see anything at all. I used to have those missions though when I was in Girl Scout where we had to walk through the woods by ourselves in the darkness as kind of like a truth or dare kind of situation thing, and it was scary because without a flashlight or anything you can't see anything, and if you have a lantern or a flashlight you can barely see, you know, a couple feet in front of you. You just don't know what's going on around you, which makes the night very special and very unique and very immersive. In this game there is no actual night. There just isn't. And that, to me, it's like, yeah, I know they wanted it so people could still see everything at night, but it's like, why? If you can skip to the day, then why don't you just kind of make it so that people who don't like to play during the night can just go to sleep or skip ahead to the day, which is what they did in Kingdom Come Deliverance. In Kingdom Come Deliverance, it's pitch dark, and a lot of times you're just like, uh-oh, it's getting really, really dark, I better go and find myself a place to rest, just like you would do in real life. You wouldn't like go and fight enemies in complete darkness because you can't see them. Everyone is asleep. And in this game, sometimes you go into castles or into those fortifications and you actually find the soldiers sleeping, which is realistic, and sometimes it's an actually very good thing to go in during the night because you can get them in their sleep. They don't even know what's happening until they're dead. Yeah, I guess that's kind of what they wanted, but still, it's like, to me, a lot of times I'm like, is it night? Is that supposed to be? I don't know if it's night because sometimes it's so bright that you just can't tell until you see that they're all sleeping. I'm like, aha, I guess if they're all sleeping, it's supposed to be night. It shouldn't be like that. It should be more like light. Right now, in this game, you see it's getting dark, and it looks pretty alright here. It looks like an early evening to me. It's getting a little bit darker and all the lights go on. Okay, I like that, but it should get darker than this. And this is as much as this is what they call night. This to me would be like an early night, like say in winter around 5-6 o'clock. It's kind of like that before it gets really, really dark. But it just never really gets really, really dark. So you don't even know when the day starts to come around. It's just all of a sudden it's like a little lighter. It's like, aha, I guess the night is over now. Anyway, enough of me babbling with this. So let me know if you do the same here. I'm really curious if other people play like this, but I absolutely love doing this, and I feel like the other thing that I feel like is really awesome in this game, and it's always been cool in this game, is the bow. Because to me, the bow and arrow is the most effective weapon. You can have the strongest sword or the strongest axe. If you have a strong enemy coming at you, you still have less of a chance to take them down if you don't have bow and arrow. With bow and arrow, you can literally stay on your horse and circle them as many times as you want while shooting at them with your bow and arrow, and they have no chance of getting you. And if they are getting too close, you are on your horse. You can quickly gain distance on your horse, but when you're on foot, a lot of times if the enemy is super strong, they actually out chase you. Like this guy here, he is coming rather fast, and so I'm not on my horse right now, so I'm gonna have to just deal with him. And some of the enemies have a really, really far reach, and if they shoot, you know, axes or whatever at you and you're down, you're pretty much toast. So the best thing, the most favorite thing for me is like to just take a bunch of enemies down that try and attack me out in the open is like on horse. But right here, for example, I do have a way to escape, which feels a lot less stressful, and that actually brings up another point. I feel that Ubisoft really listened to their fans and made the boss fights a lot less painful and stressful and annoying. Like, I don't know if you are like me, but I absolutely hate boss fights. I hate them with a passion. I do not play games to get achievements or, you know, score a huge number or anything like that. I play games for the sake of adventure and exploring and looting. That's the stuff I like to do most. But, you know, when they throw you in an arena, they lock all the doors behind you. It's kind of like in a horror movie, you know, where you end up in a room and all of a sudden the doors lock and you're stuck in the room with the monster. I don't know. To me, it's just like, oh, okay, here we go again. I have to just kill this monster before they let me go. I really just don't want to do that. I just wanted to mind my own business and just kind of explore and loot. And now I'm stuck in this room with this monster. You get me. I just, personally, I don't like it. I know some people absolutely love boss fights, but it should be a choice. It shouldn't be something that you're forced on. And I feel like, you know, I may be wrong. I haven't finished this game yet, but I'm like 100 hours in, and I haven't gotten into any of those experiences where I was just forced to fight a boss before I can move on with the game. I feel like what they're doing here is they give you the option to fight a boss like a legendary animal or not, but you don't have to do it. If you don't do it, then you may not get that particular nice sword or the coins or whatever, and it's like, you know, maybe you're okay with that, maybe you don't, you know, you can get it another way. And I feel like they just make the game a little bit less forced. And I absolutely love that, and if that's what Ubisoft did on purpose, kudos to you, Ubisoft. I mean, you rock anyway, because I love all your games, but I think that's one of the things that they did really, really well. So now if they could just fix the night mode, but they probably won't do it. They have to do with the majority likes, because at the end it's all about sales numbers, so they have to always make sure to please the majority of gamers and not the minority. But I am finally able here to loot this room after getting rid of all the enemies. That wasn't actually too hard at rank 156. Don't know what this castle is ranked at, but we see that here in a minute. Okay, it's ranked at 160, so it's just like, you know, 4 points over my rank, which makes it totally doable. So you just don't want to go and attack a castle that's too high ranked. And so this is a door that's locked, and it says find the key to unlock the door. And I don't know if this is a bug, but I have literally searched for this key everywhere. I have done a million scans and looked everywhere and ran through this castle after taking everyone out. I ran through the castle and searched every nook and cranny and every room and every roof and every tower, and I have not found the key. So if you know where this key is, or if you have ran into the same issue, please let me know. I'm really, really curious to find out if this is a bug or if I literally just did not see it. I may have ran by it. You know, I look up too. It could sometimes be on a beam or something. You just never know where they hide the key. But usually in all previous scenarios, I was actually able to see the key, and I'm destroying some stuff here because I'm thinking, you know, sometimes they hide it behind the crate that you have to destroy or something, and I'm literally like, I don't know. So I even actually try to go look through the door if there's something I can shoot, but it clearly says you need to find the key. So if it usually says you need to find the key, there is a key. I think there was one other scenario where I actually was told to find a key and I found another way in, I think. I'm pretty sure I remember that that actually happened, and when that happened I was actually quite surprised, and I'm like, aha, okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean that the only way in is a key. But, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that did happen to me once. So if you know anything about this key and that door, please let me know. I want to know. It could also be that maybe it's not necessarily bugged. They just don't expect gamers to come here and raid this castle by themselves without a mission. I don't know. I mean, they should know that people try to do that. After all, it's an open world game where you can do whatever you want in any way possible, in any order possible, however you want to do it. You can go wherever you want and do things when you want them, how you want them, and that's why open world games are so hugely popular, and that's why I love them so much. I love the freedom. I do not like games that are on rails. I mean, I play them, but it's just, they're so predictable, and it's just like, yeah, I already know what's happening around the corner. Okay, I have to go there. Why can't I jump over this fence? It makes no sense. I want to go wherever I want to go, and they do that so amazingly well in Assassin's Creed. You can literally climb anything you want, besides maybe some trees that are kind of slippery, or some rocks that are kind of slippery, but then you're like, well, you know what, in real life I probably couldn't climb this tree either because it's too difficult to climb, or this rock because it's too slippery. So yes, I think they did their best in making this as real as they could. And trust me, if you haven't even thought about that yet, try to turn off some of the settings. Oh, by the way, another thing that I turned off actually, or is this all this messaging you get. Let's say you have an active mission. The whole time you have this mission activated, even if you maybe not heading to the mission right away, you have all this text in the upper left corner that covers a lot of the graphics. And you know, it's like, I don't need to, I read it once and I know what I need to do. You don't have to show it to me like non-stop, because I have actually realized that when I do videos, and subconsciously maybe I kind of turned off that text in my brain, so I didn't kind of see it anymore or notice it anymore. But then when I watch my videos, I'm like, oh my God, all this text is in the way. And it literally takes away a lot of the real estate of your screen. And even if you think, oh, it's not bothering me, I kind of don't even notice it, subconsciously you do notice it, because it makes your world a little bit smaller. And trust me, if you actually turn off the mission info that shows on the screen, you will have a lot more fun with this game. And no, you're not missing out on it, because you literally just click the menu button and you see exactly the same mission. It's just hidden. It's not in your face all the time. It's in the menu. So you just kind of click, you know, the little menu button, whatever it is on your platform, you know, where you go look at your inventory and all, and there it actually clearly tells you what your mission is and what you're supposed to do. And it's, yeah, it's maybe like an extra click, but it's totally worth it. If you play like me, where you like activate a mission, but then you get distracted on the way to the mission, you're like, oh, look at that, I found a cave, and oh cool, like look at those cute animals, or I just decided to go hunting, but I forget to turn off, to to deactivate my mission, I constantly have that mission reminder in my, you know, field of view, and it's like, why? And so instead of you going and inactivating the mission and then forgetting what kind of mission you actually had active, it's better to just kind of turn it off in the settings and have it out of your view, but the mission is actually still active. So once you actually get to the mission, you don't have to activate it, it's still there. And also the other good thing about it being active is that when you look at the map, you constantly see where you need to go, or up in the, you know, GPS or whatever you call that up there, you see constantly where you need to go. I mean, you could turn that off as well. I'm actually really tempted to do one run where I literally turn off everything, just because I want to kind of experience it that way. But you can literally call this no HUD because you don't have any indication of your enemies, and so it is kind of like a no HUD raid, because you are pretty much like in reality going into a place without knowing how many enemies there are, where they are, and you know, that's kind of how it would be in real life, and that feels really good in my opinion. So I think I have pretty much taken out every single enemy in this castle. I'm just going through looting every place here because I don't want to miss anything. I know you can scan, but I've found out that even with scanning, a lot of things don't actually show up. So you find a lot of hidden things that didn't show in a scan, but you're like, oh wow, if I wouldn't have checked there, I would have never found that. If I wouldn't have destroyed this crate, I would have never found that. So I find a lot of goodies by just kind of like not really trusting my scan and just going, you know, with my own instinct going in, and that's how I found a lot of the fabrics, for example. So I think there is actually a fabric in this place, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure, but it's definitely a fun castle to explore. It's a very interesting castle. Oh yeah, we do have 2 enemies. I forgot about those. This is the perfect example of why you should turn off your HUD, because it's so fun when you actually just kind of like walk around the corner and there's an enemy and you're just both very surprised. But those 2 weren't really hard to take down. So I think those were the very last enemies in this castle. I got a ton of loot out of here. I had a ton of fun, and I hope you had too. And please don't forget to leave me a comment if you know about this castle, and just let me know about your findings and what you think about, you know, turning everything off like I did. Or if you have better tips and tricks, things I don't know of, I would be very happy to know about it. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.